Today we're going to embark on a journey together, exploring the profound wisdom that lies within us. Let's dive into the transformative power that awaits within you. Have you ever found yourself cruising along and suddenly everything goes sideways? Life takes an unexpected turn, and before you know it, you're filled with negativity, frustration, and perhaps even hatred towards others and yourself. It happens to all of us, but how many times must you go through this cycle before realizing you don't want it anymore? As a sincere student of life, when you start feeling that negativity creeping in, when you can't reconnect, it's crucial to recognize that you've reached the end of your emotional belief, the limit of your neurological network. Now, there are two choices. You can either retreat, distract yourself with something mundane, or you can trust that you can go further. If you choose trust, understand that those negative thoughts are just thoughts in your head. You have the power to create coherence around them. Instead of getting entangled in the web of negativity, proclaim, "I am going to master this moment." Forget external distractions. Focus on working with your body to bring it back to the present moment and unfold into the realm of infinite possibilities. It's like a battle, a David and Goliath scenario. These challenges may seem overwhelming, larger than life, but it's because we've given them so much attention and energy. When you stop feeding them your power, you can settle back into the present moment. Those thoughts become mere thoughts, and you can address them one by one. Let's embark on a journey of personal growth together. I want you to envision something powerful. Picture yourself investing 45 minutes battling your own personality. Now, I know it might sound like a daunting task, facing your inner struggles head on, but bear with me. In these 45 minutes, you have the opportunity to choose love over negativity, unfolding into deeper states of consciousness that you might not have explored before. Imagine this experience as if you were at the helm of a battleship, navigating the tumultuous waters of your own mind. It's like being in the shoes of David facing Goliath, a seemingly overwhelming challenge that at times feels bigger than you. But remember, my friend, it's not about the size of the challenge. It's about the direction in which you steer your attention and energy. In this metaphorical battleship, you have the power to turn it around with sheer will. You are in hot pursuit of your freedom, your own liberation from the shackles of self-doubt, fear, and negativity. It's a journey within, a quest to regain control over your mind, the captain steering the ship towards a brighter, more empowered destination. Now, let's break it down. What does it mean to battle your own personality? It's about confronting those moments when self-doubt creeps in, when you question your abilities, when the negative chatter in your mind becomes louder than the whispers of your potential. It's about choosing love not just for others, but more importantly, for yourself. As you navigate through these 45 minutes, remember that it's not about defeating yourself, but understanding, embracing, and choosing a higher path. It's about making a conscious decision to unfold into deeper states of consciousness, discovering facets of your being that may have remained hidden in the shadows of your own mind. Sure, it feels like David facing Goliath, and Goliath might have seemed insurmountable because you've given it so much attention and energy. But here's the magic. When you cease feeding the negativity, when you stop granting power to those self-limiting thoughts, you regain control. Picture it as a shift in focus. Instead of being immersed in the storm, you find a calm center within yourself. It's about redirecting your attention, steering away from the chaos, and heading towards the peaceful waters of self-love and empowerment. Let's imagine our brain and heart working together like a dynamic duo, each with its own unique role in shaping our experience of the world. As we intentionally create coherence between these two powerhouses, something incredible happens. It's like turning on a powerful laser or a Wi-Fi signal within ourselves. Think of this laser or signal as a bridge to information that goes beyond what our regular senses can perceive. It's like having access to a cosmic library where the universe holds all the secrets and insights waiting to be discovered. Now, you might be wondering, how does this coherence thing work? Well, Coherence is the secret sauce, the key that unlocks the door to this vast cosmic knowledge. Without it, it's like trying to connect to the internet without Wi-Fi. You're stuck in a realm of separation, unable to tap into the wealth of information that surrounds you. Now, coherence isn't some complicated concept. It's simply the state of harmony between our brain and heart. When these two entities sync up, working in perfect rhythm, it's as if we've activated a powerful beacon within ourselves. This harmonious dance between brain and heart creates a laser-like focus, cutting through the noise and allowing us to read the universe's information clearly. Picture dropping 3 stones into a pond. What happens? It's not just a splash. It creates ripples, like when you toss a pebble and watch those rings expanding. Imagine those rings intersecting and creating intricate patterns on the water's surface. Now, freeze that water, and you have a snapshot of those patterns, like a moment captured in time. Now, let's take it a step further. Shine a light through that frozen water. What do you see? It's like magic. A hologram forms, projecting the image of those stones into space. This simple act reflects a profound truth about how our reality operates. It's a projection of complex patterns. So, when we talk about changing the patterns in the field, it's not about dealing with a physical tumor or ailment directly. It's about understanding that our reality is like those concentric rings, and the key lies in altering the underlying patterns that shape our existence. Let's delve into the concept of disease. Think of it as an incomplete pattern, a fractal gone astray. It's akin to a broken record, playing chaotic and disorderly tunes. Trying to change the matter, like focusing solely on the tumor, is akin to missing the forest for the trees. Now, here's the remedy: brain and heart coherence. Picture it as a harmonious dance between your mind and heart, creating order out of disorder. It's like finding the rhythm to a song that's been playing out of tune. As you align your thoughts and emotions, the illusion fades away, and you begin to perceive things in a new light. It's not just about fixing the symptoms on the surface, it's about addressing the root cause, the patterns within the field. By practicing coherence, you're orchestrating a symphony of order, gradually transforming the chaotic notes into a beautiful melody. Now, let's elevate our understanding to a higher plane, the realm of consciousness. As you enhance coherence, something extraordinary happens. You begin to function from a different state of mind, a different frequency. It's like tuning into a radio station that broadcasts information beyond what your regular senses can perceive. This shift in energy opens a door to accessing information that goes beyond your wildest imagination. It's not just a theory, it's a tangible experience. Suddenly you find yourself interacting with a reality that transcends the limitations of your senses. It's like stepping into a world of limitless possibilities where information flows effortlessly and the boundaries of what you thought was possible dissolve. So as you embark on this journey of self-discovery, remember these words, write them down, keep them close, and don't share them just yet. Embrace the transformative power within you, and soon you'll realize that there's more to reality than you've ever thought. The knowledge creates awareness. Awareness creates consciousness. Consciousness and energy are connected. So there's a change in energy globally going on with the world. Now that knowledge and that change of energy has effects on paradigms that are no longer a vibrational match with that new level of consciousness. This is the time we've been waiting for. This is where it's happening in the Milky Way. This is happening here because there's a true coming of a new consciousness. It's not one person that's coming. It's a collective consciousness that's emerging. If you look around the world right now, whether you're looking at the economic model or the political model, or even certain aspects of the religious model, the environment, the medical model, there's several different parts of our culture that's beginning to collapse. If you study human nature historically, we always wait for crisis or trauma or disease or diagnosis, both as an individual and as a culture, before we decide to change. If you look at this and you study it in history, it's a sign that something new has to be born. because the old model of reality begins to change. Something else has to replace it. So we have two ways that we actually face crisis. We can either face crisis in a state of emergency, which in the beginning of a crisis is healthy, or we can face crisis in a state of creativity and innovation. If you're addressing a financial crisis or a crisis in a culture and everybody is selfish and everybody's living by those emotions, then they're pushing their way to get to the head of the line. They're competing, they're forcing outcomes, they're using very primitive systems to try to take care of themselves. We know from the physiology of the brain that most of the blood supply goes to the hindbrain and away from the forebrain. Those chemicals create a gap between the way things appear in our life and the way things really are. In other words, we're viewing reality in an altered state. So we don't see possibility. We feel separate from each other. We are competing and striving to get to the head of the line by using our cunning, manipulative, egocentric ways to get there. And we're very controllable. Fear is very controllable. Competition is very controllable. Anger and war divides individuals. Now that is not a way to address a crisis, because the service to self or taking care of the self is the exact thing that enhances the crisis. Because if you and I are all doing the same, if we're all doing the same thing, then a culture becomes more divided, it becomes more disintegrated, it becomes more incoherent, and possibility then is not part of the equation. So the other state of mind, if you can view crisis as a great opportunity brilliantly disguised as an impossible situation, and you have to match the conditions in your environment with a new mind. Now we're talking about greatness, because innovation and creativity and a new way of thinking and a new way of being means that we can't do the same thing from the past. And so in history, cultures that are individuals that overcame their environmental conditions were considered mystics and saints and leaders and charismatic leaders. They were individuals that saw past the illusion of the present reality. When we begin to become innovative or creative, the brain begins to switch. We begin to turn on the forebrain, the frontal lobe, which is really the crowning achievement of the human being. And we begin to ask bigger questions. How can we create a new way of being in a world that's falling apart? How can we begin to create a new system to adapt to these conditions? And I think that people, when they begin to feel empowered by possibility, when they begin to see that the death of the old paradigms means the beginning of a new paradigm. How many people actually believe in the idea that the way you think has some effect on your life? So how many people actually woke up this morning and consciously created a future? You know, the biggest reason why people don't do it is because you don't really believe it's true. You see, if you knew on a gut level that it was absolutely true, would you ever miss a day, and would you ever let any thought slip by your awareness that you didn't want to experience? So your brain, according to neuroscience, is organized to reflect everything you know in your life. Your brain is a record of your environment. It's a record, an artifact of your past. So if you believe this then does your environment control your thinking, or does your thinking control your environment? So if you wake up in the morning and you get out of bed on the same exact side as you did the day before, you shut the alarm clock off with the same finger, you slip into your favorite slippers, you shuffle into the bathroom and you use the toilet like you always do, then you walk over to the mirror and you look at yourself to remember who you are. Then you get into the shower and you wash yourself in the same routine way. Then you groom yourself to look like everybody expects you to look. Then you go downstairs and you drink coffee out of your favorite mug. Then you drive to work the same way as you did the day before. You see the same people that push the same emotional buttons. You do the exact thing that you know how to do, and you memorize and can do so well that you're an expert at. Then you hurry up and rush home so you can hurry up and check your emails, so you can hurry up and go to bed, so you can hurry up and do it all over again. Now here's my question. Did your brain change at all that day? We could say that you were thinking the same thoughts, performing the same actions that create the same experiences, that produce the same emotions, but secretly expecting something to change in your life. So then, as the environment turns on different circuits in your brain, you begin to think equal to your environment. As you see the same people and go to the same places and do the same things at the same time, it's the external environment that's turning on different circuits in your brain, causing you to think equal to everything that you know. And as long as you think equal to everything that's familiar and known to you, what do you keep creating more of? Same life. The same laws still applying to you. You're just thinking equal to everything that you know, and you keep creating more of the same. To change, to truly change, is to think greater than your environment. And every great person in history knew this, whether it was William Wallace or Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King or Queen Elizabeth I or Joan of Arc. They all had a vision. They all had an idea, couldn't see it, couldn't smell it, couldn't taste it, couldn't feel it. It was alive in their mind. It was so alive in their mind that they began to live as if that reality was actually happening now. So can you believe in a future that you can't see or experience with your senses yet, but you've thought about enough times in your mind that your brain is literally changed to look like the event has already happened? Neuroscience says it's absolutely possible. Now your personality creates your personal reality. That's it, it's that simple. And your personality is made up of how you think, how you act, and how you feel. So the present personality who's sitting here today, you, has created the present personal reality called your life. Now we're talking about innovation. Now once the idea comes, the next step is that you have to take action. Now that means that you have to be willing to step into the unknown. It means that you have to step outside the familiar self. When we begin to get creative, something unusual happens. We stop living by those survival emotions. Those survival emotions alter our perception and cause us to look at the future through the lens of the past. So there is this kind of model that says, here's the old self and here's the new self, and there's a gap between the two. And when we no longer think, act, and feel in the same way, all of a sudden we start to feel uncomfortable. We start to feel unfamiliar. It starts to become unknown to us. And most people, the moment they step outside of the old self, because they're no longer making the same choice, they don't feel like themselves any longer. So the first thing they do is they make the same choices that produce the same behaviors, that create the same experiences, that produce the same emotions, and they say, this feels comfortable or it feels familiar. The person, the maverick who's willing to step out into the unknown, that unknown is the perfect place to create from, because only in the unknown can you create something new. And if you and I can become comfortable in that unknown place, then the best way to predict the future is to create it. Teach your body emotionally what that future feels like before it happens. Now why? Well, the stronger the emotion you feel from the future you're creating, the more you're going to pay attention to the pictures in your mind, and you're going to begin to remember your future. And biologically, it's the same as remembering your past. So then you have to stay in the feeling of that future in order for you to be aligned to that destiny. When people start crossing the river of change from the old self to the new self because they're no longer thinking, acting, and feeling in the same way, there is literally a biological, a neurological, a genetic, a chemical death of the old self. And this dark night of the soul, this unfamiliar place, is the true value, the true step towards developing a new self. And then if you can teach your body emotionally what the future will feel like, that means that you're not going to wait for your wealth to feel abundant, or your success to feel empowered, or your new relationship to feel love. In fact, the moment you start feeling abundant, you're generating wealth. The moment you start embracing empowerment, you're stepping towards your success. If you get up from a creative process and you feel grateful, you feel a love for life, you feel a joy for existence, you feel a passion for the moment, you will not be looking for your future because you'll feel like it's already happened. When you get to that moment where you have that feeling, that's your compass, because that feeling is going to drive your behaviors. it's going to drive more of those thoughts. And when you feel that feeling and it's visceral, no person, no thing, no experience will stand in the way between you and that vision, and you will be initiated by the universe into wealth. Thoughts are the electrical charge in the quantum field, and feelings produce a magnetic charge in the quantum field. And how you think and how you feel broadcasts electromagnetic energy that influences every single atom in your life. The thought sends the signal out, and the feeling draws the experience back to you. My daughter probably is really the greatest creator I've ever come across in my life. My daughter was 15 years old, and it was the summertime, and she sat down with me, and she just, by the way, had finished her last creation, which was acting in a music video that she created that became #1 in the United States on the charts. So she was with me in the summer, and I said, "So Gigi, what do you want to work on next? What do you want to work on?" And now she's 15 years old, so you can imagine. She said, "I want an unlimited shopping spree." Now, what am I going to say to her? No. I said, "Okay, here's the deal. You got to practice this every day, and I want you to get very clear on your mind on what it would be like to have the most amazing shopping spree of your life. But you can't get up as the same person who sat down in your meditation. You have to get up like you just had the most amazing shopping spree and you shopped your brains out." And what do you think she said? "No problem, Daddy." And so it was the summertime, and in the summertime, children love their freedom. But she worked with me, and I wake up at 4:30 in the morning, and I do my meditation, and then I'm waiting for her, and I hear the alarm clock. I hear a rustle around in there, and then I hear her settle down, and I wait. And, 30 minutes later, boom, the door opens up, and I look at her and I go, "How was it?" She said, "I don't know." And I said, "You have to recondition your body into believing that that future event is happening to you now, because your body is the unconscious mind, does not know the difference between an actual experience that produces an emotion that you fabricate by thought alone. And you have to change the circuitry in your brain neurologically to look like the event has happened. Then you have to emotionally condition your body into believing that future event is already done. And when your thoughts and feelings are aligned, when your mind and body are working together, you're headed for a new destiny." Now, there were some mornings she didn't want to do it, but I kind of knocked on her door and I said, "Hey, come on, I did mine. You're going to do yours?" And I got down on her level, and I let her know that I had completed mine, and I asked her to complete hers. Now I was in Washington, D.C. I'll never forget this. I was driving in the cab getting ready to do this lecture, and the phone rings, and it's my daughter on the phone. Now I can't tell if she's laughing or she's crying, but she's altered in some way. And I say, what? "Oh, that unlimited shopping spree. It happened today." I said, "Really? Tell me everything. Don't leave anything out." She said, "Okay." And she was visiting a friend of hers in Santa Monica, California. I live in the Pacific Northwest in Seattle. And she said, "Okay, Dad, I went to my favorite store, and my buddy and I were, rifling through the racks. You know how kids do that." And she said, all of a sudden, this guy walks up to us, my friend and I, and says to my friend, "Hey, is your father Sam Borelli?" And the young girl says, "Yeah, that's my dad." He said, "Okay, you two come with me." And he says, "Listen, your dad did me a major favor 6 months ago, and I've been trying to figure out a way to pay him back." And so he reaches into his pocket, and he pulls out the company credit card, and he said, "Ladies, have a nice afternoon." The cab pulls over on the side of the road, and I say to my daughter, "How much did you spend?" She said, "I spent $7,500 today, Dad." I said, "Do you feel guilty about that?" She said, "Nope." And I said, "Never feel guilty for anything you do, good or bad." And so I said, "Look, I gotta go. I'm going to call you on my way back to the airport on Sunday. Congratulations." What is gratitude? The emotional signature of gratitude means the event has already occurred. It's not just feeling the gratitude, because we know that just having an elevated emotion doesn't affect matter. We know that just a clear intention of seeing something change doesn't affect matter. They've done experiments on this. You have to combine then the clear intention with the elevated emotion. The emotion is the energy, the frequency, the carrier of the thought. The thought is the intent. It is the direction. It is the specific field frequency. So it's like tuning a radio dial. So if it's all about vibration, it's all about energy. When there's a vibrational match between your energy and that in that potential that exists in the quantum field, when there's a vibrational match, it's going to find you. And if you can hold on to that emotional state of gratitude, your body is living in that future, in the present moment. And that's when we begin to see the miracles happen. Getting people to go from the old self to the new self is literally crossing that river. And if you know that there's another side to the river and you have the passion, the intensity and the will to keep going and get beyond your emotions, get beyond your habits of thought, get behind your unconscious states of mind and body, and you keep moving across that river, sooner or later, you are going to break free from the chains of the past. And when you do, you're going to liberate a whole lot of energy. And that energy you're going to use to design a new destiny. The quantum model of reality tells us that all possibilities exist in the present moment. So you have to get to the present moment in order to create. When that person reaches that elegant present moment, the moment they do that, they become nobody. They become no one. They become no thing, nowhere in no time. That's the moment they become pure consciousness. That's the moment they are literally walking through the door into the quantum field. Now, you can't walk through the door into the quantum field as a somebody. You got to walk through the door as a nobody. That means in order for you to heal your body, you got to get beyond your body. You got to forget about your body in order for you to change some aspect of your personality. You got to get beyond your personality. You have to become no one in order for you to create something new in your environment. You got to get beyond your association to your environment. In order for you to create something out of nowhere, you have to get to nowhere. And if you want to literally create some new future time, you have to get beyond time. And the moment our students do this, there's this magical thing that we see happen over and over again. It's becoming redundant now. It's becoming a pattern. All of a sudden, the moment they do that, their consciousness begins to merge with that greater consciousness. And all of a sudden, the brain starts to fire in holism. The left side of the brain fires to the right side. It works in synchrony, so like this massive whole brain state. At the same exact time, the heart moves into a state of organization and coherence. And if you look at the map on the computer and we have the student hooked up to the heart monitor and the brain monitor, we can turn around and look at that person and they have tears of joy rolling down their face. They are so whole, they are so happy that it's impossible to want in that moment, because how could you want when you're whole? And that's the moment the miracle happens. There's nothing that you have to do, because when you're living in survival, you're living in stress. Emotions of anger and aggression and hatred and anger and anger. Emotions of anger and aggression and hatred and judgment and fear and anxiety and guilt and shame, depression, unworthiness, they're all created by those hormones. When you're living by those hormones, you're always going to try to force an outcome, control an outcome. You're always going to try to predict how it's going to happen. You're going to get in your own way. The quantum model of reality actually then creates an energetic field, so that instead of you going out there and getting it, and it takes time, you are collapsing time and space, and it is being drawn to you. And we talk about that in our work, the difference between third-dimensional creation and fifth-dimensional creation. Third-dimensional creation takes time. You got to get your body up. You got to go somewhere. You want a new house. You got to go, look at a bunch of houses, get a loan, pay it off in 30 years. You want a new job. You got to go 25 interviews. You get a job. It's not quite the job you want. You want a new relationship. You go on Match.com, you look at 40, 50 different people. You go on all these dates, it takes time. But in fifth dimensional creation, you're not going anywhere to get it. You are actually drawing it. You are the vortex that's collapsing time and space, and it's your energy that's bringing it to you. Now that then begins to become the excitement, because now you're no longer trying to control or predict the outcome. You're trusting the outcome. You're trusting in the unknown. You would never analyze where it's going to happen or when it's going to happen, because you understand that the moment you do that, you just return back to the old self. The new self would never think that way. So as you sit up straight and open up this channel to the brain, in one slow, steady breath, as you inhale, you're going to lift those muscles, perineum, front and back up at the same time. So as you inhale now, you're pulling that energy and contracting these muscles, and you're locking that first center down, and you're squeezing, and you're milking this energy out of it. So it goes first center, then you follow your breath into the second center. And as you follow your breath into the second center, now you lock this one down. And the way you lock it down is you pull in your belly button close to your spine. You pull it in, so then inhale first center, then you pull in the second center,